Oh, wow. Ah. No, just me finishing as well. No. Okay, so is it recording? Yeah. Okay. So today we're going to talk about third-party APIs. Um, I tried to look up like a nice graphic of what API is, but it's actually simpler than a graphic. It's like the same HTTP request that we've been making to get, a view back. Uh, Instead of having all that HTML and all that stuff to make it look pretty, an API sends back just the data that you normally use to make the view, just some simple data. Um, and you might have heard of JSON. I think you guys have worked with JSON a little bit. It's like a Ruby hash, and it just is the simplest way to send data. So that's usually what you find with APIs. They send JSON back, but it's whatever they want to send back, but it's just smaller without all these views. Um, why is this so big? Can you read that? Okay. I'm the one who can't read it. Well, oh, I'm gonna get my glasses. I'm sorry. Oh, did it get all slanted all of a sudden? Okay. So, so in our curriculum here, we're gonna go through this public art project and set up some APIs and learn how to test them, especially. And here we just have a brief intro of what third-party libraries are. We've used Devise before, and we've seen the benefits of being able to set up something really complex um, with just a few commands and tweaking to get it to fit our app. And we can see the advantages of using third-party libraries. APIs are kind of like libraries, but for data that you get in real time. And I guess before APIs, they used to write all of it themselves, which I can't imagine must have been a headache. But let's try setting up this repo for ourselves. Okay, what do we have here? So it looks like, okay, let's spin it up first and then see before we dig around. So I'm gonna bundle install 84 gems. Let's see. We're going to that nice little alias. Oh, class. And going to run the server. Let's see what it looks like. Uh-oh, we have this nasty error that Aaron and Liana ran into the other day. I went and Googled it, the error, and we have to bundle update. some of the old repos, I think they don't work well with Ruby 2.5 or something, and this is a remedy. Okay, you see it changed the versions of all these gems to newer ones, it looks like. And maybe I have to restart the server. And it works. So let's make a user. It looks like it's so pretty. Look, oh, this bootstrap must be, right? So it looks like we can make a location with a title, an address, and actions. I don't know what that is. So a new location, let's say. Okay. Should we pause? Okay. And so this is some public art we have in Chicago. Let's see, we can edit it, we can go back. Looks like the same kind of Putty app that we've been making. So we can edit and destroy here. And let's see. So let's look at the code base that we're working with. Where did all that pretty bootstrap come from? The views, location, the show page. Let's see. In my layout? Let's see. Views, where is my layout? Layouts. Header, oh, okay. This must be our nav bar. And this is a partial. It's being rendered here in our application. Very nice. That's our pretty bootstrap nav bar. Application?
Yeah. Which line out of application tells you that bringing bootstrap into the other app? 10 through 14? Yep.
10 through 14.
So a real quick side note on bootstrap right there. Lines 10, 11, and 10 through 13 right there basically are calling out to an external resource, like an external site that's hosting all of this code. So Bootstrap, like the CSS for Bootstrap lives at that particular URL. The JavaScript behind Bootstrap also lives behind that particular URL. So Mike, if you just highlight the // CDN, all the stuff inside the href.
Oh, this?
Just copy that and put it inside of the browser, and you can kind of see all of the code that it's bringing in behind the scenes. Actually, you just get rid of that first. All of this code in the background lives on the web somewhere. Someone's hosting this, and it's supposed to be up 100% of the time, so they can just call out. All that code that's going behind the scenes.
Is there anywhere else we want to look? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and add a Google map that shows the location of the public art that we're looking at. So we're going to use TDD to do that, right? But first, let's take a look at the embed API, Google's embed API. So whenever you use an API, you're going to go to the website uh, of the person that's providing the API, and they're going to have a guide of how to use it. So here we have a, let's get started guide. So let's copy this in. And we're going to put this, where do you think we should put this? In the index? So let's find the page that we want to put it on in our GUI. This would be the locations index. And this would be the bean. So which view is this? We want to put it in here, right? The show. Let's see. Let's put it in here. All right, so it looks like it has a width and a height and a source, google.com/maps key, your API key, and then it looks like it has some params that equals Space Needle, right? Allow full screen. Let's see. Uh-oh. The Google Maps API server, although it made this box, it looks like it pushed all these things way down here. It made this box and it says the provided API key is invalid. And that's because we haven't gotten an API key yet. Let's do that later though. Right now, let's write a test for the code that we have here. Do we have an API, a Google Maps object on our show page? So our spec is going to be in controllers, location controller, right? Describe get show. And we're going to have a test that looks kind of like this. It's similar to our other tests. First, what's happening? What is location? Let's see. Location equals location.create, and we have this model location over there that we saw acted out. Valid attributes. What's that? Let valid attributes equal this hash, and it has all these key value pairs. Let's see, I actually like looking at it like this. Description, address. Okay, so, oh, I didn't even, so the test has the bean, which is what I put into the browser. That's convenient. But the description and address are a little different than what I typed in. That's okay. So it gives the location those attributes, and then it gets the show with the ID of location to param. So it just puts all that hash in params. Expect location to equal location here. So this is our Google Maps one. Expect response.body to include google.com/maps/embed. So that would be this thing, right? So since we put that straight in our show, it should run and pass. When it runs. Okay, so it passes. Okay, now what if we wanted to make the map a partial? Do you remember how to do that? Let's see,
Create a new file
new file,
with the underscore.
underscore,
HTML.erb.
and then we're going to just go and put this in there instead, right? Except we want to change this Space Needle to be whatever the actual address is for our location, right? So how will we do that? We're going to use interpolation with ERB, right? We can access our Ruby here, and it's the address of a location, right? Now, yeah, leave that. Yeah. So the nice thing about having at here, so if I were to say location, right? What would I have to do to get this location to actually be something that's defined? I would have to, when I say render, I would have to put something like, give it a local variable, right? Where I say, okay, so when you look for location, it's not undefined, it's here. This is what location is. It's at location, right? It's that instance variable we pass from the controller. But instead of typing all this, it's easier since we already have the instance variable. And this partial just shows up and it has access to everything in this page. We can just say at location instead. And it should be able to read what we have. So
Does that have to be in query format with like the pluses and all that?
what's query format with all the pluses?
Like the previous one was like Chicago something, but it had pluses between the white space.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I think before that was just the example they had given us, right?
I know,
Like space plus needle, comma, Seattle plus Washington. This seems kind of like a string, right? So I feel like as long as we give it a string, we should be okay. So the address would be a string, but if we have to format it differently, we can do it pretty easily, right? With where we input. Okay, so what I'm wondering is, did this get input into the map? We can't see that yet. How would I see if that's what it did? Okay, view the source. Yeah, I think I'll view the source. And wow, this is a low res screen. Not head. I think it's here. No, here. Okay, so it worked. It gave us the address that I typed into the form. Okay, so this test that we wrote though is like, it's kind of like hard coding, right? We just expected the response to have some kind of embedded map, but we don't really check anything else about it. So let's make it check to see if we added the address in. So here we have the test that we had before, but also we have the query, this param with this interpolated address that we have here, right? And expect to include, so we don't have an API key yet, but if we run this, it should fail because of that one. And I think at that point, it'll be time to get our API key. See. Yep. So we're missing this. So it's going to expect our API key in there. So how do we get an API key? Yeah, it's in the guide here somewhere. Okay, so what is an API key?
Like a token or like kind of like a
A
password.
token, yeah. It's like, it's just a string. It's like a long string of funky characters that they give you, and it's just you'll hear it called token sometimes too. When you put it into your HTTP request, you can give it a key of token, and sometimes that's how they want the API key to come to them. But every API is different, but most of them, if they don't want to give access to everybody and have unlimited traffic, they're gonna want a key so they can shut you off if you go too much traffic. So let's see.
Yeah, it's basically like when you sign into a website, you use your username and password. The API key is your username rather than using your email address. You have a unique.
So this is kind of like we're requesting for a username so we can use their service. Get this API key. And they're gonna think for a bit, and hopefully they're gonna give me a key. Okay, they gave me this really funky looking string. So I'm gonna copy it. And where were we supposed to put it? Here in our test. But we know that's gonna fail. Where do we need to put it in our view? And where we make the request, right? Okay, so I have this really long key they just gave me. See if it works. Well, let's see if the test passes first. Okay, so the test passes, so this does show up in our response. And oh, look. So we have Google Maps in our, that was pretty easy, wasn't it? Just a few lines of code, and the immense lines of code that Google Maps is made of is on our site. Now, if I edit the location, if I edit the address, is it going to change? What if we had like, what's something else? What's the description? Not shiny and beanie. Okay, so we can display through our database, what's on our database, the address, and put it into a Google Maps API. And that's pretty awesome. Now, the problem is that now we have an API key, which Google went out of its way to give us privately, right? This represents who we are. And if we wanted to put this on GitHub or put this on our website, It's right in our website. Someone can be like, they don't even have to go to GitHub. They can just look right here. It's in here, right? Yeah, there's our key. We don't want this to happen because then for this API, it's okay. It's a free API. My credit card isn't attached to it, but you might end up using an API that you actually pay for because you have so much traffic on it that they need you to pay. And if your credit card is linked to this key and some stranger can grab it, they just got a free pass to the API and they can use it as much as they want, and you'll have to pay for it. So that's no good. We don't want this key out here like this.
Real time some actual stories behind that. We had one. There was another group that another coding group left their Amazon Web Services key and password in their GitHub repo, and there are bots that literally read through all lines of code on GitHub to look for those particular things. And they woke up one morning to find a $300 bill because they had used their credentials to mine Bitcoin, and they had to pay because that's their fault that they left all their stuff out there. It's kind of like leaving your the title to your car, like a piece of paper, just in your backpack or something like that. Your backpack gets stolen, somebody signs in that legally that car is theirs. You're just responsible. So you don't leave it publicly.
So we're going to go to a file called config.secrets, or not slash, not dot, but slash, config secrets YAML. Okay, config secrets.yaml. So here we're going to kind of store our API key here. Now this API key that we have, we don't really care if it ends up on GitHub. Maybe like sometimes you want an API key to come packaged with your app if it's free, if some other developer downloads your app and wants to spin it up really quick, it's kind of a pain for them to have to get all these API keys just to see your app work. So you can put keys in this file for developers to use. But when you don't want to share the key, you're going to store it in an environment variable. And the syntax is going to look kind of like this. So we're going to replace this. Which could be bigger. Okay, so what do you think this means? Development, test, production. They're kind of like modes. You're gonna have these running on different servers if you're running them at the same time. But a lot of things that we want, like let's say in the gem file, all of things that we want, like for Pry, we don't really want Pry to be in the production version of our app, right? Because it just makes our app bigger and clunkier, and we're not going to use it. So we're only going to include it in when we're developing and when we're testing. So here Rails knows, okay, include Pry for development tests, but not for production. For the keys that we were looking at, and I'm going to paste my development secret key here. Oh no, that's not the key. I'm going to paste it in there. And I don't have one for production, but that's fine. Right, because right now.
Yep, sorry, you have extra.
Uh-oh, that's not going to help. Thank you. That would have bugged me to no end. Let's see. And okay, so we'll go over quickly how we would set an environment variable. So in our bash profile, we'd have something, we have, all our aliases, right? But we also can, we can have in variables, like this could be Google API key equals something, right? And when you run these like this, if you run keys like this, and these are okay because they're not connected to my credit card, but these, this is how you store a key on like kind of a local file. And if you run this line, if I were to copy this line and put it in before I run the server, and I would just put it in here, all of a sudden this variable is stored to this string. And then when I run the server in the same window, even if it's not in my bash profile, if I just ran this line, because that's all the bash profile is, it just runs these lines before everything, then you get this here. Rails accesses these variables with this syntax, with this big env and then brackets, and then whatever you called it, just accesses it like a hash. So
is it necessary for you to put the key in both places?
In both places, at this point, this key is not in my bash profile, so we don't have to worry about it. And then this one, there.
Do you have to store it here and also do you have to like file you're looking at?
That bash profile, you would put it in there for ones that you don't want to share. For this one, I want to put on GitHub, and I want to share with the other developers that.
Not your bash profile. There's a file that starts with Z.
Yeah, that is my bash profile. I'm using ZSH, and that's my bash profile.
You put in your test environment when you're doing RSpec key.
So when we can run tests both in development and in test environment. Right now we're running in development environment. So
Oftentimes have two different types of keys. So when you sign up for like a service with a particular company, they'll give you keys that are not keys that are connected to like accounts that won't be charged. So it's kind of like play around with this all you want. Like you can, it's just for your own testing purposes. And then at a certain point, they'll give you a production key, which will say like once you start hitting this and once you start using this particular key, we're going to start charging you. Kind of like imagine a kid living at home before they're 18, something like that. And the parents aren't going to charge them any money. If they come back after college, maybe the parents will start charging them. So you can think of development and test as like kid under 18 in the production as the kid that's over 22.
okay, so let's fix our tests so that it reflects that we don't want this in the response.body, because that's exactly what we don't want, right? Even though we're sharing this to other developers on GitHub, we don't really want to share it to all the clients as well. So in the spec, let's see. Here we had expect response.body to include our key here. Instead, we're going to say expect response.body to include rails.application.secrets and then what we called it. So now whenever we change it, we don't have to change our test too. So that's another bonus. And in our partial, instead of having the key here, we're going to refer to the key. We're going to say rails.application.secrets Google API key. And where is that going to refer to? Where are they going to look when they see this? Where we were here, secrets.yaml. So that's in the config folder. We're going to look for secrets.yaml and put our API keys in here. Since it's development and we're in development mode, it shouldn't matter that I don't have it here. So let me see. I'm going to restart my server. Uh-oh. I have a typo. I think that's what it was. You have to reset the server for config. Any config changes. So let's see if it still works. Did I close the window? Oops. Uh-oh. Undefine local variable or method location for this class. I'm guessing location. Did I mean at location? Around line 5 of location show. So locations show line 5. There's nothing here. What is this? Ah, in line 5 of the render. And what do you think the problem is? Location. It's not an instance variable. So location, this should fix it, right? Well, that's what Rails suggested. Let's just see. Oh, okay. Let's see. We have this working. So even though we deleted the API key, it found it through our secrets.yaml file here. So now it's not floating out here on our view. That's good. So
when it says like it affects the body, a response to the body, looking at those things,
can you say that again? The response, the
um,
body.
yeah, our spec,
Mhm.
it says expect response to include.
Right, response.body is the HTML that we got in the response, right? And when we expect response.body to include something, usually a string, right? It's going to be the input to this. And this comes out to a string, this variable, to the string that we set in config.yaml, which it accesses through this here. Or not config, secrets.yaml.
Even if you upload this on GitHub right now, it's still not secure because the bots could still read your secrets YAML file.
They could. The bots could read this API key, but
Make it completely secure.
completely secure? Okay, then we would use the bash profile like I was talking about earlier. And then the syntax that we use wouldn't be Rails application secrets, but rather it would look more like the syntax. Usually it'll be like, because it's a constant, it'll be in all caps. And you can reference it that way. Because the back profile doesn't get pushed up to GitHub. It's just something on your computer.
Would it be a
Multiple keys? Yeah.
let's say you have a key for Google Maps, you have
Then I would make a lot of different ones.
you would to the back.
Hmm. You could put them in there, or you could have them in a different file, as long as they're stored locally. That's fine. But if you store it in that repo that you push up to GitHub, then it'll be public. So let's take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back at 25.